What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the BREWtally Speaking Podcast, the official podcast of MetalNexus.net, where you can get all your concert photos, show reviews, and so much more. And with me, as always, is Daniel Terry. How are you doing this late evening?
Oh, I'm doing great, man. I'm staying awake. I got my snapper. We're killing it.
Yeah, I have still drinking the St. Adams from the last episode, or potentially the first episode, depending on how we put these out. And I'm going to go... I just got back from the Norma Jean show, and I'm going to finish doing this and then go have some beers with Corey from Norma Jean.
How was that? Was that a good show?
So...
Oh, no. It wasn't a good show.
No, it was fine. Fit for a King and Norma Jean have both played this town plenty of times, and very recently, and played in the same room, which is actually not the room they were in tonight. And both were... I mean, the last time I saw Norma Jean was the He Is Legend Norma Jean tour on the Polar Similar album cycle. And it did maybe like 200 people in a 400 cap room, so half filled. Fit for a King played in the same room, I don't know how long ago, but did about the same thing. So I wasn't expecting too much, you know. I was expecting maybe a half full 800 cap room. And it was a pretty, if I had to put a number on it, probably around a little over 600 people there. So really filled. I didn't get there to see Currents or the other band. I can't remember who they were. But I got there just in time to see Norma Jean, and I guess I either just have never noticed this, or where I was standing, I was like right in line with the bass tone, but I never realized how much the bass tone cuts through in Norma Jean stuff. Like it almost sounds out of place, like the tone, but then there's time because it kind of has like more of a higher end sound, while everyone else is kind of more low and kind of sludgy.
Yeah,
and I was just kind of like, a couple of times I was like, I never realized like how much like the bass really can be felt and noticed in Norma Jean's music, even having seen them very recently and so forth. So that was kind of interesting to me. And then, you know, I had actually sent you a message where I was like, man, the band has so much hair. Like, Corey has a shitload of hair. The guitar player on stage right has a lot of hair. The bass player has a lot of hair. The drummer has a shitload of hair. And I was like, I don't know if it's like the tour thing, you know, because sometimes bands will do like a tour, not a prank, but just like a thing they all do. And I think everyone's growing mustaches, because like everyone's got like really interesting kind of shitty mustaches kind of going.
As long as they're not pedo stashes, I mean, I think we're okay.
No. I mean, but they're... Yeah, but it was like this thing where I had texted you, especially when they were playing the new song off of the upcoming record, where I was like, the look of the band is that of like a stoner sludge band at this point.
Totally. I feel the same way about He Is Legend most of the time as well. Mm-hmm. And they've actually descended into that a few times in their discography. But no, so I got to share my Norma Jean story. So, if anybody follows me on socials, you know that I went and saw Zao on Sunday. Their tour with Hollow Earth and Wolf King, and yeah, that was a great show. I definitely had a lot of drinks. I had people buy me a lot of drinks, which I was not expecting at all. I brought Zao beer. I gave them a couple of cases of St. Louis's Best, and sent them packing with that. And it was a great time. My issue is that Norma Jean and Fit for a King were coming on Tuesday, and so like I went to work the next morning for some reason after that show. I mean, we must have got home at like 2:00 in the morning, and what was funny is that, well, it wasn't really funny, but I guess it was like Tuesday night or Tuesday in the afternoon. I got I ended up coming home from work, and it was a big thing, and I ended up having just a massive migraine, and like the last thing I want to do if I have a massive migraine is go see Norma Jean. You know, they're not going to help that very much, and it was very frustrating because I really wanted to go to see the show. I wanted to touch base with Corey and you know, and just, you know, give him a couple high fives and all that good stuff. Which, I mean, I had plenty of high fives with Zao before, so I mean, I'm fulfilled in that respect, but it was definitely a huge bummer for me not to get to see the show. So I definitely lived this show vicariously through John, just because, you know, I wanted to hear the new Norma Jean song, and, you know, their newest track is probably the heaviest, like tuning wise.
I've
ever heard from them, and, you know, they definitely are hitting that sludge factor that I like so much in heavy music. And yeah, I was super, super bummed out to have missed that show. I can't even. But I mean, on the flip side, Zayo was really good. They killed it on Sunday, and they were great. It was so funny. So it's weird in Missouri, and I don't know how it is in other states, but like in St. Louis especially, like the thing that was most shocking to the Zayo guys is that we were all just standing outside the venue drinking beer in the street.
Yeah, you can't do that most places.
Apparently that's not legal anywhere else, and because like we're sitting there drinking or whatever, and like cops are driving back and forth, like they don't care, you know. And we're sitting out of the back of my buddy Alex's Prius, and we had the whole thing the whole back of it stocked with beer, and so we're just sitting outside on the street drinking, and it's so funny. So like Scott from Zayo comes down when they were done eating dinner, and he's like, "What did you bring?" You know, and I was like, "Oh, you know, brought all this stuff or whatever." He's like, "Hold on just a second," and then he walks over and starts talking, and then Dan from Zayo like makes a beeline for our car. Like immediately, and he's just like, hey, what do we got going on over here, you know? And yeah, they were pretty shocked that we were just standing out there drinking, and we at the end of the night we still had some left, so they packed it all up in their coolers and took off. It was definitely a good time. I remember we were trying to chat or whatever after the show, but like I don't know if you've seen Zayo live before, John, but like they are so loud. When they play that I had no voice because I was like screaming all the songs, and we got podcaster preference viewing, so I was dead center, like right in the front in front of the stage.
See, everyone knows you gotta utilize your friendships or whatever and get on the like right behind the guitar cabs. That's where you need to be side stage.
Well, it's funny. I didn't do that. I probably could have done that if I had asked, but I'm such a hardcore Zayo fan. I had to be just front and center to the stage, and then Jeff from Discography Discussion he was basically like fighting people off to keep them off me the whole time. It's like, we don't want to ruin this. This is Dan's experience. We don't want to, it was like, so yeah, I had like an army of goons behind me, like defending me from the pit and everything, and because I'm old, man, I can't go into those pits. I'll die. And maybe that makes you less metal, but that was a great show. But it's so funny. We're trying to talk to Scott after the show, and I'm like, I probably sounded something like this, when we were done, and I couldn't hear anything. So like every time anybody'd say anything, I'd be like, can you repeat that? I don't know. I don't know what you said. And they're like, dude, just go home. They're like, when do you have to be at work tomorrow? I'm like, 7 a.m. They're like, ugh.
Yeah, the nice thing is I don't have to work, so I'm looking forward to going out and having some beers and meeting Corey. I mean, well, I guess actually let's do the thing that we're supposed to do typically in these and introduce who is actually on.
Hey, John 5.
John 5. So this interview was actually supposed to be done, 3 months ago, 2 months ago?
It's been a minute, yeah.
Yeah. And unfortunately, John, where he was at the time, the venue had just bad cell service, so I wasn't able to do the interview. So then he was like, call me back in like 4 hours. So I call him back, nothing's going through, and then the publicist sends me an email like, hey, unfortunately, we're going to have to reschedule this, like all the interviews that were like at your time and beyond and all that, like just, it's not going to happen. So, I'm kind of bummed because, John 5 is a great interview. Like if you ever watch or listen to anything he does, he's great. He has really fun stories. He talks at length, kind of very much going off of some of the interviews we've been putting out lately. Like, everyone we've been having lately is pro as shit. Like, they just give you good content. And so, I was looking forward to this. And, unfortunately, like, I called John, and then I see the thing that I used to record, the other person's end of the conversation. It's not working. It usually, as soon as I call on Skype, it just starts going. So that way I don't miss anything. And it wasn't going. I couldn't click on it to start it. And I was like, shit, like, what's going on? And then I was like trying to fuck with it, and I just couldn't. And I was like, John, I'm going to have to call you back in like 2 minutes and figure this out. So to me, I was like really disappointed. I was like, oh man, this is starting off so bad. And then like the first couple of questions I got into, I was like, I don't really think he cares, or these are kind of questions or whatever. And then I got the first, that's a really good question. And then from there, I felt better as we went. But There is one question, and I'll save it for the outro because we've been blabbering quite a bit already. So I will tease you. There is a question I wanted to ask, and I will tell you when we get done with this conversation with John 5, and we will talk to you then. Have the pleasure of talking to John 5 this, early afternoon for me. I think it's still early morning for you over there in Portland, I believe is where you're at today. Your latest album, Invasion, is what? We're a week out as of today?
No, it came out the 31st of July.
Which was like a week ago, though, right? Because music comes out on Fridays now, which still throws me.
Well, let's see. What's the date today?
Today is the 2nd.
No, it's only been out. It's only been out for 2 days. No, July 31st, and then there's August 1st.
Oh, that's right. Because you dropped it early. That's what threw me. You dropped it on a non-traditional day, which is now Friday.
Right. Yes. Exactly.
Okay, man. I'm old, and I remember when records still came out on Tuesdays, and I'm still not used to things coming out on Fridays. And you threw it even more a loop for putting it out on what? That was a Wednesday, so a day after it should have came out the old school way.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter when things come out. I just wanted to put it out on my birthday and, give everyone a gift, and so, people have really enjoyed it, and it's been, I'm just so shocked. It's just been getting such great reviews. I'm so happy because, it's an instrumental record, and that's like, I just couldn't be happier. And it's all for the fans, it's all because of the fans, and that's the truth.
Something that kind of surprised me, because we were supposed to have done this chat a while ago when you were actually on the Invasion tour, and at that point you had only had 3 singles out at the time, and we weren't, as fans, weren't sure if this was going to be an EP, if it was going to be a full length, if these are just going to be their own thing. And here on this podcast, something we kind of talk about a lot with people is in today's musical climate, is EPs or singles kind of the way to start going, or do fans really want an album? So it kind of makes me wonder, did you feel that this was a better way to release and get people geared up for what would be Invasion, or was there a potential for it to be released only as like those 3 songs as an EP?
Of course, I don't have all the answers, but I just go about what I like. And what I like to do is I like to release singles, because I think of like certain records, there's so many songs on these records that are so great, but people are only listening to the singles. So I thought, why not just release, singles and then have the physical record come out a little bit later? And it really seems to work for me, because I put so much hard work into these songs, and I want everyone to enjoy them, and I think all the songs are very special.
Yeah. Something when listening to this record, and admittedly I don't listen to a lot of instrumental records, because all I keep thinking about, and it's my hang up, and I get it, is like, I'm like, oh, I hear like a vocal melody maybe that would go here, and I understand, like, from your perspective, that's where guitar solos kind of come in, is to kind of counteract what's, for most fans, maybe what's missing. But I really enjoyed how free-flowing this album is, while still maintaining a sense of identity and cohesion throughout. Like, it doesn't feel like anything shouldn't be on this collection of music, which is Invasion. And I wonder how hard it is when you're putting these songs together to make that happen. Like, do you pay attention to the track listing and where things are, or is it all kind of a happy accident that happens?
No, everything is very, very carefully planned out. I really, really try to make everything flow really well, and I work on the sequence for a very, very long time. And, everything is planned out, every little piece and every little picture and every little note and everything, all the sequence. So, and I take my time with it, but it, because the album's going to be around forever. So I really kind of try to take my time with it and do the best job I can.
What, in kind of thinking about the track listing, and the more I was kind of thinking about the various ways you could have put this record out, was there alternate track listings that really made the album, like that almost made the album the final version, but would have given it a totally different feel? Did you play around with it and kind of be like, oh, here it is, here's the final version, only to realize like, actually, no, it should go like this?
Absolutely, yeah. I messed around with it quite a bit, and I listened to it and listened to it in the car and things like that. But I really am happy with the sequence and releasing the singles. Like when I'm on tour, I'm like, here's a new video for everybody. We're gonna play it live. We're gonna do this. I'm not saving it or anything. It's just here's a new single, here's a new video, here's a new song. Let's all enjoy it. And that's what music is all about, just to be enjoyed and to be inspiring, like so much music has inspired me in the past.
It's funny, speaking of being inspired by the past, and when listening to the song Invasion itself, my phone just kept repeating the song, and I didn't realize I had set it up that way on accident. But as I'm working and I'm just kind of getting ensconced in this oral soundtrack that you're providing for my day, I just got a really strong, like, Ridley Scott kind of Aliens vibe to it when I was listening to it. And it really put a smile on my face thinking about it, because I was like, I don't know, like, it seems like a John 5, like, inspiration, like, watching more composers and more, like, soundtracks and scores and stuff like that, but I don't know if anyone has kind of said that, like, specifically, like, this has a very Ridley Scott feel to it, with that song at least.
That is true. That is absolutely true. And also, when you hear in the beginning, you hear kind of like a wind sound, like, I would have to like really point it out, but there's like when you listen to it again, but this is what's really cool about it. This is one of those happy mistakes we were talking about. That's not wind, and it sounds just like wind. It's me. I have a Floyd Rose, like a tremolo bar, and I have it all the way down to the pick guard and just lightly letting a little pressure off. So the strings will tighten a little bit. So that's all guitar. It's really neat. I'm really happy how that came out.
Yeah, I got a very, like I said, I was thinking like that, or I was like, oh, I could even see this being in like Predator, or like just something kind of like jungly, but like space and all that kind of stuff. So
yes, absolutely.
It had a sense of uneasiness but familiarity to it. It was very, I don't know, it was very interesting to kind of be put in that space. And like I said, since it just kept looping, and the song actually works very well to just start over, and you don't realize that it's doing that until you look at something. So I thought that was kind of interesting.
Right. Hey, what's going on?
Yeah. I've kind of, in doing my due diligence for this, have seen and read a lot of your interviews and watched a lot of them. And you're always talking, and even in the interviews, if you can see them, you're literally usually holding your guitar and fussing around with it. And, you always talk about how you always have a guitar on you. You're always playing in some way, shape, or form, learning something, playing. And it kind of made me wonder, what is the weirdest thing you've been doing while you had a guitar in your hand and came up with something where you're like, oh, shit, what is that? I need to record this.
Well, I have it. I have it right here as we're talking. So I don't know. I always had the guitar with me, like in the bathroom and everywhere, everywhere. So I don't know. I'm not sure. I just, because I always had the guitar with me. So I don't know. I'm always playing. So yeah, the bathroom or outside with the gardeners or anything like that,
It just makes me wonder. And then I was, something as you actually were doing it, sometimes as you're thinking, you'll strum a chord, and I was always like, it'd be really funny if what we don't realize as the person interviewing you is that if you were knowledgeable on the chord shapes or the names or whatever, if you're actually giving us an answer in using various chords,
right,
or something like that.
Oh, I think I once did an interview and answered with guitar solos.
That's great. Kind of speaking more to the gear side of things, it seems like everybody now, for various reasons, a lot of international touring bands will have switched to profilers and so forth. And, just the fact that they give you the ability to dial in a lot of tones that, you know, instead of having to lug around a lot of gear, you can have the all in one nice package. But you're very analog in everything, in your setup and so forth, and it kind of makes me wonder, do you ever see yourself kind of going to something like that just for the sheer freedom that it gives you when traveling, or do you enjoy the tired and true plug in, here are all of my pedals and so forth, and the spontaneity maybe that can happen at any given point because of it?
That is a great question, and I love convenience. I would love to, you know, use something that is very convenient, because lugging things around, you're right. You're absolutely right. I want to be completely honest with you. I just don't know how to use it that well. I mean, I'm good at like turning knobs and plugging things in and stuff like that, but I'm not good at programming, and I'm not good at all that stuff. I just am not, and that's the honest to God truth.
I was trying to look up and see, have you done any of these like Kemper profiles or AFX profile like packs for anybody yet? Has anyone approached you to do that?
I've been approached, but I have not done it yet. But I love convenience, and I love those Kempers, and I think they sound wonderful. I just don't know how to use them.
Interesting. It was just one of those things, like, you know, I talked to Red Beach a little while ago, and he's like, you know, like, I can tell that it's a processed sound, they're not real, you know, and his guitar player, and I'm totally blanking on his name right now, but, you know, he has one, he's like, it sounds great, and I was like, well, then it would seem like if he's got one, and you know it sounds great, and how easy it is to use on the road, it would seem like you would want to use it, and he's like, yeah, no, but I just love the tired and true thing of plugging into an amp, and, like, feeling the rumble of the amp and the cab and all that kind of stuff, and stepping on pedals, and, you know, and doing it the old-fashioned way. And so I just kind of wondered, you know, it seems like you're very much an old school type of player like that, and it made me wonder if that's just your mentality as well or not.
Not really. I'm not really an old school type of player. If it's very simple and great and easy to use, I'll use it. You know? Yeah, I'll use it. I love convenience, and I love technology and all that stuff. So yeah, if somebody showed me how to use it, I'd probably use it and be totally happy.
You know, kind of speaking to the gear and technology, you have some really interesting, fun guitars, you know, some with LEDs, another one you have with antifreeze in it, which is cool. And it kind of makes me wonder, what else do you have in that brain of yours that you want to put onto a guitar coming up?
I would love to make the whole guitar, like I play Telecasters, so I would make the whole shape of the guitar a video screen. And I would love that. I don't know how I would do that. Maybe put the electronics on top somehow, like where the binding is. I don't know, but I think that'd be a really neat idea. Hey, wait a minute. Let's see. Maybe a pickup can live on the binding of the guitar. The volume knobs can live at the bottom where the strap lock is, like at the bottom, you know, of the guitar. That might work, as we're figuring it out during this interview.
It was just one of those things, like, I feel like you're one of the few that kind of pushes
okay, cool.
what, you know, you're able to do with the guitar to kind of really bring out a lot of excitement in your live show. So it just kind of, I was like, you've got to be coming up with something else that's just like revolutionary in it.
It's all entertainment, you know, and people just want to be entertained, and I do too. So I don't think there's anything wrong with it, you know, just getting on stage and getting all weird.
This might be a little bit odd, potentially. I haven't seen too much spoken about it recently, but I grew up on Rod Stewart and Steve Perry. I actually have a Steve Perry portrait tattoo. So those are kind of two of my building blocks of music growing up. And you recently have worked with both of them. Steve Perry more so on, I would say, a traditional comeback album, whereas Rod Stewart, you know, he had been doing a lot of stuff, but this is really one of the first records he had done that's his music, not like the storybook anthology he was doing. So I kind of wanted to know, what does it mean to work with such iconic singers on new music after long hiatuses from doing such, and them reaching out to you specifically to help them, you know, bring this new music to fruition?
Well, it's completely an honor because I love both those guys so much. I grew up with them too, and I saw Rod on the Camouflage tour, and I just love Rod Stewart, and of course Journey and Steve Perry, and being such a fan. And then when I got the opportunity to write, I knew everything. I knew their whole catalog. So if they referenced something, I was like, yep. And I love writing for people I grew up listening to or I listen to now, because I'm familiar with their life of music. So it's such an honor, and it's such a pleasure, and it's such a treat in my life to be able to do something like this.
Kind of in myself, and going back and listening to a wealth of Rod's discography, it's really interesting to go back and see the shifts in sound. You look at the stuff he was doing with the Faces, and it's kind of like brat rock, kind of, very like anthemic and so forth, and just fun. And then there's that kind of like 80s era where it's like more tinges of electronic and kind of electro pop and so forth, but it still has a little bit of like that swagger that he's always had. And so I kind of wonder, when working with him and having that vast majority of knowledge, when you're working with him, I haven't really figured out the way to ask the question, but it's just like, do you try to mimic something from a certain era, or do you just kind of, because like to me it would seem I don't know how your process is when you're working. Like, do they come to you and go, hey, I'm thinking a mid-tempo kind of song, thinking something kind of along these lines, go? Or is it more like, I'm feeling kind of something like Young Turks, I kind of want like an upbeat song like that, go? Like, do they?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, they do. Yeah, they'll reference certain things, and I know everything. I know all the songs, so. Or they're like, yeah, I want to vibe like this or like that or that. And yeah, of course that works. And I'm like, and I'll try a bunch of different ideas and do this and that. And that's how we just start coming up with things.
In working with people who have been in the industry as long as they have like that, what is something that you glean from them in just the music business side of things, maybe that they're able to teach you?
Oh my God, I'm such a sponge, because these people have done it. They've paved the road. They built the streets. They know exactly what they're doing. So I am such a sponge. I listen to everything they're talking about when someone's giving advice. When two people talk, most of the time, one person is giving advice to the other person. No, next time you have a conversation with someone, try to notice, try to pick up on that, because that happens a lot. Some person is giving the other person advice in some way, from experiences or whatnot. And when I am sitting with, my heroes or legends like that, I listen to everything. I try not even to talk. I am just listening and trying to take as much in as I can, because it's the best advice you're ever going to get.
How hard is it to, because something that in doing this podcast now for almost 3 years and talking to a lot of people that I've long admired, there sort of becomes this separation of fandom kind of goes away, because you have to be a professional and you have to express yourself and be a certain way. But I also know that there's still that kid inside me that, loves, getting a record, opening it up, looking through the liner notes, taking everything in, noticing the nuances in a pair of headphones and so forth, going to see live shows, noticing the interactions between the band members and so forth, like just all of that ancillary shit, really. But it's one of those things where I kind of wonder, as someone in your position who has become friends with a lot of the idols that you that inspired you, how hard is it to, when you're working with them, to kind of keep the fandom down a little bit? Just like you said, it is, you have to be professional, but I don't care who you are, from Eddie Van Halen to Jeff Beck to Eric Clapton to Paul McCartney. They all of them have their heroes.
There's not one musician that doesn't, or they wouldn't be in that business. If you're in that business, you always have a hero. I was watching a documentary on Bill Wyman called The Quiet One, and he went to go see Ray Charles, and he was so taken back and so freaked out because that's his hero, you know. And Bill Wyman, I mean, the Rolling Stones, the biggest giant band in the world, you know, and he was so taken back by Ray Charles he could hardly speak, and that's wonderful. So because we all have our heroes, all of us, like Paul McCartney, they loved, you know, Ray Charles, and they loved Little Richard and all this stuff, and Chuck Berry. It was their heroes. So even with you or I, doesn't matter. That's because that's what we do. We love music, and it all has to come from somewhere. We're all inspired by someone.
Couldn't agree more. Who is someone that you haven't worked with yet that you would love to?
I've worked with so many people. I'm very content, and I don't say that with anything other than because it's such a blessing what I've done. I don't want to seem like, you know, well, I want to work at this person. I'm so happy and content with everyone I've worked with. It's just a dream come true. So whoever comes along in the future, it'll be wonderful.
It's funny, I was listening back to a couple of various podcasts that you had been on previously. You know, something that always gets brought up one way or another is your love of Kiss, your fandom of Kiss. And to say that you're a huge Kiss fan, I think is putting it very, very mildly. Your Instagram page, your ancillary Instagram page, I think would prove why that's kind of a humorous anecdote. The thing is, you know, you were responsible, quote unquote, if I understood the Eddie Trunk podcast that you did, that you were kind of the reason Gene and Ace kind of mended fences. And, you know, after that, it seemed like a lot of mending of fences was going on before this farewell tour. So being the huge Kiss fan you are, I wanted to get your take on the fact of the fans seemingly being disappointed with the presentation of this farewell tour. And do you think that we will ever see on this farewell tour, at least once, the original lineup back together for a song?
You know, I think, first of all, the End of the Road tour is doing so well. It's doing great. They're doing incredible business. The fans want to see it, and they're going. They're buying tickets, and they're doing great, and they sound great. To have, you know, Ace come up and have Peter come up, it would be just the icing on the cake. It would be incredible because it's all nostalgia for us. You know, we are here celebrating Kiss, their incredible career, and to have them come up would be a dream come true, of course. So we can only keep our fingers crossed and hope for the best for that to happen. But, you know, they're doing just great business as well. And, you know, we can do nothing but applaud Kiss because for what they've achieved in their career is, you know, it's staggering and it's unbelievable.
I got to see the, I guess technically the first farewell, one of the first farewells, back when I was still in high school, and got to see the original band. So I always count myself very lucky that I got to see, you know, that.
Absolutely.
Something, you know, kind of speaking, you know, there's a lot of bands that are calling it a day. You know, Slayer's calling it a day right now. They just announced their last leg of the final tour. And, you know, there's a band, you know, I think it was Gene that had kind of made the comment, you know, there are some of these legacy bands that maybe people want to go see them and support them, but the people aren't able to do it anymore. And so to kind of, I guess for lack of a better term, franchise it out. So there's people performing the music and it's an officially licensed version of the band to still continue going on. As someone who's played with so many people and a lot of, you know, legacy acts and legacy people, does that sound like something that you would be interested in, or do you think fans would be interested in that?
I think that that's such a great question. It's such a important question and such a huge question. It depends on the band, of course. You know, if it's so hard. Let's think about like Frankenstein. Let's think about Frankenstein. So Frankenstein came out in 1931, and which I believe, or 1930 or 1931, I believe 31. And just imagine, there's been so many different Frankensteins, hundreds maybe. Even Robert De Niro was Frankenstein. There's been Glenn Strange, who was Frankenstein. There was, everybody. It's gone on since the early 30s. But what if it was only Boris Karloff, and then that was it? Even Bela Lugosi, who played Dracula, was Frankenstein. Lon Chaney Jr. was Frankenstein. And this was still in the early times of Frankenstein when it came out, because Boris Karloff couldn't do it. He couldn't have that weight on him. He couldn't have that, he was getting older and he couldn't do that. But what if there was only Boris Karloff as Frankenstein monster? So you think someone like Kiss, like that's so massive, and is the makeup and everything is popular as, Ronald McDonald or Coca-Cola or something like that. I don't know. It's a great question. If Kiss got behind it, I think people would go.
It's just one of those, in light of the tribute band thing seemingly like being a booming business in the touring realm, that it's kind of made me wonder, like, well, what if a band were to be like, here, we're slapping our approval on this, and there it is, and that continues the next round. I mean, I really wish I would have remembered to look it up, but there's somebody in a band, and basically, it was Ricky Medlock, I think, was doing a Blackfoot band, but he was writing with the band, but the band was going out as Blackfoot with no original members. And so I think that was one of the first times I'd really heard of one of the original members being like, I'm still going to write with the guy, so it's still going to kind of have our sound. We're not going out anymore. So if you want to hear these songs, here's the band-approved variant of this. And so it's just a really interesting time right now to see this shift, and it's kind of unprecedented. So I don't know. It's been something I've been kind of thinking about a lot lately, and I don't know. I just figured maybe you might have an opinion on it.
I think people would go because here's the thing. We are music. You and I are music nerds, and we love it. We go crazy for it, right? I got to put you on hold for 1 second. Hold on. That's my other interview. So I'll sum this up. It's, you and I are music nerds, and we talk about it. But let's take the people that work and want to get out and enjoy a night out, and they're like, hey, we want to go see so-and-so, and they're playing. They want to go have a night out. They want to have a good time, enjoy life, and get away. Just like if I do that with the movies. Hey, I want to go see Carrie. Well, it's not the original Carrie that came out in in the 70s. It's a new Carrie that came out in 2018. It's like, but still, I want to go see it. I like the story and blah, blah, blah. So I don't know. I think it would work.
Well, in light of the fact that your next interview is already calling, where can people find you? And I know that what you're doing the rest of the year, you got the Manson Zombie Tour, which is actually coming through here in 2 weeks. So looking forward to hopefully catching you guys at that show. But where can people find you online?
I am very active on my Instagram, Facebook, and my website, john-5.com. And we are going to be doing a press release for a new tour coming up. And that starts October 30th. So just watch for upcoming dates. It's going to be crazy.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for taking the time. And like I said, hopefully looking forward to catching you in 2 Mondays from now.
All right. Thank you very much.
Yep. Enjoy the rest of your day. So that was my conversation with John Five, guitarist for Rob Zombie, ex-Marilyn Manson himself, Rod Stewart, Steve Perry, like just a shitload of people. So as I was saying in the intro before we got into the conversation, there is a question, and I had heard John Five on Josta's podcast many years ago. Like, I think it was like in the first 100 that Josta did. So this is like way back. And somehow Josta, in the ever-present way that Josta only can, segued into something so out of left field, and he was just like, oh, so I hear you like tit fucking or whatever. And apparently that's like John Five's like thing, like that he loves. So I was going to mention something about it, but I had nothing that I wrote. There was just no way to bring it up where you're just like, how, so, like, I don't know. I just think it's so funny that it's like, you know, because some people are very shy and not vocal about, you know, things that they're into or, I guess, perceived fetishes and so forth. And so it was just very funny that it's like, oh, he loves, you know, tit fucking. And
who doesn't?
I guess. But it was just funny because it's like, obviously, if you've seen the new video for I Want It All, and it's just, you know, boobs aplenty.
Well, yeah.
I'm surprised he doesn't have like a boob guitar.
I think that'd be really hard to play.
I mean, you definitely would wank on it.
Well, yeah, for certain. But like, I mean, I just feel like the distraction level would be way too high.
I mean, have you seen his guitars?
That's true. Yeah, I mean, you're right. He's probably oblivious to it now.
Yeah, but that was definitely a question and something I wanted to bring up. I just had no idea how. And then I was like, would he be like, yeah, because like he seemed really into it on the Josta show. So
right.
I don't know. I just sometimes, you know, you remember weird things and side tangents that happen on other shows.
You chickened out, John. You chickened out.
I did. But no, I thought, you know, there's some interesting things in there. You know, I definitely liked, you know, because I definitely know that he always has a guitar on him during interviews and so forth, and just in general. So I thought it was funny that you couldn't hear it until I asked him that question, and then it was almost like he was like, "Oh, it's okay that I'm playing," and you can hear him playing throughout the rest of the interview.
Yeah, I thought that was really funny. I was like, dude, put the guitar down. But then I was like, you can't tell John Five to put the guitar down.
No. And then I also liked how, you know, in light of the crazy guitars that he's had custom made, that I was like, oh, what's like something new and crazy and innovative you're trying to do? And then he's like, well, I want to put TVs on my guitar. And then I was just like in the pick guard or like an LED screen or like what? And he's like, you know,
let's figure that out right now.
Yeah. And I was totally ready to try to figure that out, even though I have no idea. Like, I have a basic understanding as a guitar player, like how all the electronics are and where the pots are and stuff like that. But it's like, to do something like that, the only thing I can think of is either somehow you make, I mean, because people have like LED style guitars, like where a part of it lights up or something. But I mean, to have it broadcast something, that's where, for me, I have no clue how you do that. But I don't know. Maybe that's the start of a new idea, and maybe soon we'll see John Five playing an LED like TV guitar.
That'd be interesting, especially if he's like having old horror movies play on it.
Oh, for sure. Or his music videos or something.
Yeah, that'd be really cool.
And you know, there's one more question I didn't get to ask, but I'll go ahead and prose it. You know, just for shits and giggles. But I was going to ask, so in light of, you know, the fact that that Zombie and Manson tour is doing another leg so soon after the catastrophe of the last one. And it's not on Zombie's part at all. Obviously, there's plenty of headlines made of how Manson was having health issues, quote unquote. And it was one of those things where at a couple shows, because they were alternating headlining spots. I know Zombie because Zombie's whole band used to be in Marilyn Manson at different points.
Right.
That all of them know how to play some of those songs. So I was going to ask him, how long did it take everyone to figure out, like, hey, we can bust out Beautiful People or whatever it was that they ended up playing.
Yeah.
And if, as a result of how that tour went, if the band was like, hey, like, let's figure out 2 more songs in case we need to kill some time on some of these dates. And I never got to ask that because, you know, we ran out of time, but it is one of those that it does make me wonder if, when in light of how that last tour went, if the Zombie camp basically comes a little more prepared.
We can only hope so.
But no, I also loved, it was funny, I didn't realize initially when I was listening to the record, my phone's been really weird lately, like when I play anything, it just loops the song, and like I don't see that it's on like repeat or anything like that, so I don't know why my phone's doing that. But it was funny that as I was listening to Invasion, I was like, man, this is like a really like cinematic song. It feels like a Ridley Scott, like I'm listening to like Alien soundtrack or something, and I'm in space. And then it was really weird because then I was like, I noticed like certain parts kept coming back, and then I was like, man, this is a really long song for like a 40-minute record. And then I looked at my phone and I was like, oh fuck, this song's been like repeating for the last 20 minutes. But it worked. It still worked.
Like, why do I want to go home so bad and watch Alien? I don't understand.
You know, just because like the intro kind of went a little bit longer talking about Zeo and Norma Jean and not about John 5.
That's so us, dude.
Well, you know, we're catching up. We actually haven't talked in probably like almost 2 weeks at this point.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Because we were supposed to do something, and then I think you were sick or something, and then I had something, and then you had Zeo the next night, and then now I have a job, so like I have to get up early, and with the hour difference, Dan and I are trying to find time. But maybe we'll go back to one a week. Maybe that'll be easier for our new schedules. But all that aside, if you would like to keep up with John 5, well, he's currently out right now on the Manson Zombie Tour, so I think that's pretty much hitting every city for the rest of this summer, so go check it out. As of today, of when we were recording, the Invasion Part 2 tour was announced, so pretty much John 5 will be somewhere around you the rest of this year, so head on over to his website, his socials, whatever. If you would like to keep up with him, go to Facebook, Instagram, John 5 Official, Twitter, John 5 Guitarist. Keep up with him. He's a fun follow. I don't really know that you're ever going to see anything about titty fucking, so I guess you're gonna have to pay Joss to like $5 or $10 a month and go back to find that episode and hear that. But it was a fun little tangent that they went on. If you would like to keep up with Metal Nexus, you can find them simply enough at metalnexus.net, Facebook at Metal Nexus, Instagram at metal.nexus, and Twitter at metal_nexus. And Dan will tell you where he can be found.
I can be found on Twitter at DiscussMetalDan. I can be found on Facebook under Daniel Terry. I can be found at Gmail, actually. I set up my own Gmail account for this, and you can send me an email at discussmetaldan@gmail.com. And as always, you can find me ranting away on your favorite band on discography discussion at discussmetal.com. The inside scoop on all of that.
Fair enough. And for the inside scoop on this podcast, if you would like to follow us, simple enough, BrewSpeak Pod, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Head on over to YouTube. Check out our podcast over there. We do have some of the in-persons that we've done posted there, the video of that. Check out our Patreon, patreon.com/BrewSpeakPod. Support us monetarily, because this isn't free for us to do, and we would like to offset some of our costs doing that. Maybe we'll buy a beer, and we'll maybe that should be a perk. We'll have solely a beer fund, and you tell us what beers we have to get and try,
and we'll give our honest opinion.
Yeah. So yeah, do that, and even if you don't want to do that, that's probably what we're gonna do anyway. So give us your money, as Jeff would say. And if you would like to email us, you can email us at BrewtallySpeaking@gmail.com. Keep up with our show sponsor, The Bean Bastard, over at TheBeanBastard.com. Facebook and Instagram at The Bean Bastard. And for the Brewtally Speaking Podcast, I am John.
And I am Dan.
We will talk to you all next time.